Hi everyone, in this video we will be restoring this iPhone 6 Plus. We will change the motherboard and install the new LCD screen with battery. It's been a long time I have published the restoration video for the last time, my apologies, but unfortunately the spare parts became very expensive and it took me some time to find the supplier with more or less good prices. For this restoration I will need the fully assembled LCD screen with home button and camera and speaker, as you can see on the screen. I will not change the battery, I will use the old one, which I took from another phone from the last restoration video. The brackets for the contacts of the LCD screen, the replacement motherboard. Everything looks like this. So as you can see that the phone is already disassembled and we don't need to do much. So we will start from disassembling the motherboard. I am disconnecting the contacts for the rear camera and for the speaker. So the construction of the motherboard on 6 Plus is not so complicated as on the 6 model, for example. And it is much more easier to replace the motherboard on this phone. Just one thing is that you need to be extremely careful with the small wires for antennas, because if you damage this wire, you will need to replace the Wi-Fi antenna in assembly. And please note that you need to arrange the screws as they are, because as I mentioned many times before in my previous videos, the iPhones have the screws with a different length. And if you put the wrong screw into the wrong position, you can damage the motherboard and even the housing. So currently I am unscrewing the bracket for the which are holding the contacts for the switch and the volume buttons. As you can see, there are two contacts. The left one is for volume button and the right one is for the switch button. Now we need to remove these big screws which are holding the motherboard on its position. The first one and the second one. Now the last thing we need to do to remove the motherboard is to unscrew the vibrate motor to remove the screw, and as you can see the motherboard is took off from its position, but please do not forget to disconnect this wire for antenna, because it is very fragile, so please be extremely careful with this. Now we need to place all the wires in order to avoid damaging when we will be installing our replacement motherboard. But before we're installing the motherboard, we need to clean all the positions and all the places on this housing, because this housing haven't been assembled for a long time and probably there are some dirt under the motherboard, so I need to clean all the places before installing the replacement motherboard. I think that this motherboard has been repaired before, as you can see, but unfortunately I have no opportunity to find the working motherboard without the repairs. Because of the Apple policy with this iCloud lock, unfortunately we need to throw away fully working details. This is very sad, but this is the policy of the Apple company. If you once forget the password for your Apple ID, you can say farewell to your iPhone, and you need to replace the whole motherboard in order to make your iPhone working again. So I really hate this policy for the Apple company, but unfortunately I can nothing to do with this. So now we're installing our motherboard on its position as it was before. And now as soon as I arranged all screws on their positions and I know where the particular screw goes. So I don't think it will be a problem for me to install the motherboard again. Just please be careful with these wires. As I mentioned before, if you damage the wire, for example for Wi-Fi antenna, you will need to replace the whole Wi-Fi antenna, because the wires are not connected to this antenna separately. Now as you can see, the motherboard is already on its position, and first we need to do is to avoid the motherboard moving on its place, so I need to install at least one screw in order to fix it. So that's what I'm doing now. Now the motherboard is more or less fixed, and now it is time to connect all the connections for the rear camera and for the speaker, and also connect all wires for different antennas which are on this motherboard. So as you can see, I'm screwing the vibrate motor, and now I'm connecting the speaker cable to the motherboard. Now I am installing all the screws for the camera grounding clip. As you can see, it is located just under the camera. And now I am free to connect the camera contacts to the motherboard as well. So I'm putting the Wi-Fi antenna wire under the contacts of the mute and for the switch button, and connecting it to the motherboard as well. These contacts are very fragile, so please be careful when disconnecting or connecting them, because it is very easy to damage the wire. Now all contacts are connected, and it is time to install the brackets and all the screws back on their positions. So the last connection, the last wire cable I need to connect to the motherboard is for the GSM antenna, if I do not mistake. Now everything looks good to go, and it is time to install the bracket for the mute and switch home button and for the switch buttons. So this bracket is holding contacts on their positions and avoid them to be disconnected even if your phone falls down. Now everything is okay, everything looks good to go. So, the next thing we need to do is to install the battery on its position. But before installing the battery, we need to check the phone functionality before closing it. In order to check the phone functionality, I will just simply put the battery nearby without sticking it, and then I will open our new fully assembled LCD screen in order to check whether the iPhone works before closing it. So let's check. So first connecting the LCD connectors and then the battery. It is very important to connect battery for the last time and disconnect it for the first time when you're disassembling the phone. As you can see, everything works perfectly, and now we are free to begin the final assembly of the phone. So we will install. First we need to disconnect the connectors for LCD panel, and then we will start to installing the battery to our phone. As I mentioned before, I'm using the used battery from the previous restoration phone. So this battery is still good, it has 87% health, and I think it will be enough for this phone. So I will not use the adhesive straps, standard adhesive straps, which Apple recommends to use for battery installation, because when I was removing the battery from the previous phone, the battery was a little bit bended, and I think that this very thin standard adhesive straps will not be a good idea for battery installation. So I will use standard adhesive stripe, and when the battery is installed, now it is time to install the full assembled LCD screen on its position. So this time I will be connecting everything for the last time, and then I will be closing the phone. So everything is connected, and now it is time to install the bracket for the all contacts. So this is the bracket for LCD contacts, and this is very important part of the repairs, because please be extremely careful and not to miss the screws into the wrong position. This is very easily to damage your motherboard if you are screwing the screw which is a little bit longer than it should be. So please take time and arrange and choose the shortest and the smallest screws in order to install on this place. I'm not joking, because I have spoiled one motherboard like this, so now I'm already experienced guy, and I'm recommending you to choose the smallest screws if you don't have an opportunity to arrange the screws when you are disassembling the phone. Unfortunately, this phone had no brackets and screws for this, and I had no opportunity to arrange the screws on the position, so I need to choose the smallest screws, and it is very risky, but this time, as you can see, I have managed to install all the screws correctly. So everything is working fine. So for the last time I'm checking the functionality of the phone, and as we can see, the battery has 87% health, as I predicted. And now it is time to clean all the fingerprints and all the signs of the repairs which can be left inside the phone, in order to make this phone look as authentic as it possible. And now we're closing our new LCD screen, and this is the final stage of our restoration for today. I had some problems when installing this LCD screen, but this LCD screen is not genuine, as you have guessed. So, and of course, sometimes you can encounter with some kind of issues when you're installing the new LCD, non-original LCD screen into the original housing. But nevertheless, I have managed to install this LCD screen, and the last step of our repairs is to install these two bottom screws, which are holding the LCD screen on its position. I will not be placing the tempered glass screen protector and removing the protective film from the phone, because the future owner of this phone wants to install the tempered glass screen protector by his own. So, and now, as you can see, everything is working fine and our phone is successfully restored. I think that the future owner will be satisfied with this phone, at least for the next 2 years probably. So, thank you for watching, and now let's count the cost of the repairs for this phone. So let's count the cost of the repairs. So the housing with camera and all wires costed me approximately 500 Russian rubles. Then comes the price for LCD assembled screen, and the motherboard cost me 3,274 rubles. The LCD, the full assembled LCD, cost me 1,437 rubles, and the brackets with the screws, the complement of the brackets and screws, cost me 87 rubles. The overall price is 5,298 rubles, and approximate price of this phone is nearly 7,000 rubles. So it looks like a very good deal for me. So, as the sellers for the spare parts, I can also be very greedy. But greed is not bad, I think, if you making everything properly. So, for this time it is all for today. Thank you for watching this video. I will do my best to publish the new restoration videos as often as possible, but unfortunately the spare parts sometimes are very expensive. So when I find the appropriate prices, I will be restoring the phones and showing it to you. And this is all for today. Thank you for watching again, and please subscribe on my channel and put the likes or dislikes, it depends on your opinion. Have a nice day and goodbye.